All right, so yesterday I was coming home from the car show, and suddenly I started getting a bogging issue. And every time I would hit the throttle, like hard, it would just bog out, like bog, and then it would accelerate. So I had to check a few things out on it, and I was looking at the CEC. That's that emissions thing that they put on here in 1971. I don't know if they did it in 69 or 70 or not, but I think it was 71 was the first year to use that, what they call a CEC. It's in front of the carburetor, an emissions, they call it a control solenoid. And what it does is it retards the timing in the lower two gears. It burns hotter in the cylinders so that supposedly it reduces emissions. And after looking over the carburetor, I found that one of the vacuum lines that goes to that CEC was somehow popped off. I don't know how it popped off. And I'm thinking that was the problem. So I'm going to go out and run the car and see if that was what was causing it. And we'll be back in a minute. Well, I'm already thinking that was the issue because I revved the car, like when the car had that issue yesterday, and I would come to a stop and rev the car, it would even bog on the rev. So I plugged that back in, and now when I rev it, listen, yeah, instant, no bog. But I'm gonna drive it anyway and see. Okay, I'm gonna just get it up to a few miles per hour here and then punch it. All right, so it's not bogging. I did feel a little slight hesitation, but like say when I'm going like this, now if I punch it now, yeah. All right, so I'm not getting hesitation anymore, so that was the problem. Man, I'm glad that's all it was, man, for sure. All right, so that vacuum line came off of the CEC and was causing a bog. And now, I'm gonna have to pause this. Okay, yeah, so I'm not getting the issue now, so that definitely was it. And I'm glad because I didn't feel like having to deal with some crap. All right, I think my problem's solved. Okay, so this little deal right here is called the CEC. That's an emissions, what's called the control solenoid. And it has two vacuum lines, one coming from the carburetor here into it, and the other from the distributor. And this one is the one that popped off somehow and was giving me the hesitation and bogging. So after I just test drove it, it seems to be doing all right. And I don't know how that would have popped off in the first place, but somehow that popped off. But putting it back on eliminated the bog. So now when I rev it, no bog. Everything works just fine. So that was my issue, thank goodness. And problem solved. Another C3 Corvette story to tell. All right. I'll go drive it a little bit some more. The question is, why was that vacuum line being off the CEC causing a carburetor to bog? Because what was going on with that was it was allowing unmetered air into the fuel system, and that's what caused the bog. So simple fix, thank goodness. But I don't know if this CEC, the way it's set up, if it extends beyond 71, 72, and so forth. But anyway, if you have a CEC on here and you start to get a bog, first check and see if that vacuum line came off, and or if there's a a leak in that vacuum line there, and save yourself some time in troubleshooting. So again, for me, I was lucky when I first took off the air filter box, and I just noticed that was off of there, and I said, well, that shouldn't be off of there like that. So put it back on. That was the cause of my bog. And what I just did off camera a few minutes ago, I got some new rubber, and I put a new hose in there, and so I shouldn't have that problem again. It's a more snug fit. The old one probably was the original hose, and it was easy to pull off. So I have one on there that's a little more snug and will stay on there a whole lot better. But yeah, that was my problem. And if you ever get that situation, here's a video you can check out for a quick solution. All right, everybody, thanks for watching again my C3 Corvette story, and that's today's story.